Namaskar, hello and welcome viewers. You're watching Committee Report with your host Kriti Mishra. Today we'll take a closer look at the report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture on progress made in implementation of Sagarmala projects. India is blessed with a 7,500-kilometre long coastline touching 9 states and 4 UTs and a vast network of potentially navigable waterways. 12 major ports and more than 200 non-major ports are situated along India's coastline, and the country is located on key international trade routes on the Indian Ocean. Sagarmala, the flagship program of Government of India, is the maritime equivalent of the Golden Quadrilateral Network of highways and India's most ambitious maritime modernization program, aiming to harness the potential of India's maritime resources for accelerating economic development in the country. Before the detailed analysis, let's take a look at this report on Sagarmala. Oceans and seas cover 2/3 of the Earth's surface and have served as highways for seaborne international trade since ancient times. The vision of Sagarmala is to reduce logistics costs for both domestic and EXIM cargo by building synergies between various agencies of the government and improve multimodal connectivity and linkages with minimal infrastructure investment. The 31-member committee is of the opinion that introduction of major tech changes in Indian major ports can provide stimulus for cargo handling.
Committee consisting of national highway, shipping, civil aviation and railway safety, tourism and culture, all infrastructure projects will come under in this one. And once they develop, these areas develops, the country GDP also will improve.
It observed that connectivity projects are capital intensive and have substantial gestation period as they become economically viable over long periods of time. The committee therefore recommended the ministry to take corrective measures to arrest such an erratic trend of projection of fund requirements and be more prudent in their budget formulation. It has advised that the ministry make their estimates only after proper assessment and planning. And for deeper insights on the observations and the recommendations of the committee, I'm joined by an illustrious panel of guests. Joining us through virtual platform, Mr. Bharat Margani, MP Lok Sabha from the YSRCP, Mr. Rahul Modi, Managing Director, Pushpak Logistics Private Limited, Captain Anil Kishore Singh, CEO, Adani Inland Waterways. Welcome to Sunset Television, all of you, and thank you so much for joining us. And Mr. Margani, let me begin the program with you. The committee noted that port modernization projects under Sagarmala have seen a cost escalation of 20,000 crore rupees. What are the reasons for this delay, and what are the steps that are being taken to address this?
No, in fact, the Government of India's main achievement is to connect Bharatmala, Sagarmala and the Golden Quadrilateral of interconnecting roads. As we all know that this is the respiratory of the connectivity is our respiratory system. But in fact, the Government of India has initiated this program in 2015. So from this past 8 years, the work initiation and the work process is been not up to the mark. It has been getting delayed. As we all know that the country of India is having around about 7,500 kilometers of the sea connectivity. In fact, when we are having 12 major ports and 200 and odd small minor ports, but as we are there up to the mark in terms of the port connectivity, or in terms of when we compare with the rest of the world, it is not up to the mark at all. But the Government of India has taken around about 5 lakh crores in terms of the budget. And how much is the budget up till now? It has been, it has taken around about 208 projects of 1,36,000 crores up till now. Under that, we have only completed 56 projects with a worth of 19,000 crores. It's below 20,000 crores. The work is getting lagged and it is getting delayed. So there should be the government should be more magnanimous in terms of connectivity. In terms of connectivity, as we all know that all the cargos, the major transportation happens with the the waterways itself. So in fact, there should be a rail connectivity, and the Sagarmala right from the top to the bottom, and even from the Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean, and the Arabic Ocean, the three oceans has to be connected. The road connectivity should be considered in a very speedy manner. In fact, for my state of Andhra Pradesh, earlier there was a promise in the State Reorganization Act to come up with the industrial corridor right from Vizag to Chennai. But still the work is still pending. The connectivity of the roads has to be happen at the earliest, and we demand the government of India to initiate the projects, because only 56 projects have been completed, not even 20,000 crores the worth of roads being, the Sagarmala is being completed in the span of 8 years. And it is a kind of lagging thing from the government of India. So the budget what is allocated for around about 15 years of time is around 5,50,000 and odd crores. Up till now, only 20,000 crores has been spent on that. And the government should come forward in a speedy manner to complete all the things.
All right. So the government has to ensure that there is speedy clearance and also very strict monitoring. But as you mentioned about connectivity, let me take that to Captain Singh. Captain Singh, the committee acknowledges that Gati Shakti brings all the existing infrastructure projects together on a single platform to ensure synchronized and integrated planning, but emphasizes that the issue of connectivity has to be taken up more seriously. The committee also pointed out to the ministry that there's hardly any port in India which has rail, road and air connectivity and last mile connectivity, which was an issue in majority of the places. How do we address this big challenge, sir?
Miss, the answer lies in what the Honorable MP was saying earlier. The government should place more focus on connecting the non-major ports. Minor port is the wrong word now, because non-major ports are the ones which are doing most of the expansion and growth of cargo capacity in this country. I belong to a group which is doing a major work, but I'm not saying from that point of view. Right now, I operate a port which handles 25 million tons of cargo without rail connectivity. Now, that is where the problem lies. The minor ports or the non-major ports also require equal seriousness in connectivity, because these are national assets. They should not be taken in terms of private and public and so on. Each port is serving a particular area's needs, and the connectivity, especially the rail connectivity, where land acquisition issues come up and private entities find themselves handicapped in handling that. That is where government should ensure connectivity, and it will see an improvement in the performance, as well as probably allow Sagarmala to utilize their funds better.
Absolutely. And Mr. Modi, you had also deposed before the committee. The committee also noted that only 2 Indian ports feature in the top 40 global container ports. It is obvious that there is significant potential to develop port infrastructure in India and become competitive with other leading maritime nations by driving cost effectiveness. What's the way ahead?
Yeah. We have a lot of cargo, and the containerized cargo, we are working in mainly in the coastal cargo. But yes, said that there is a good opportunity to take up these ports on the global scale. Sagarmala is trying best there to give their funds to the major ports to develop their berthing and everything. But yes, we are very behind the technology. We have to use the technology. We have to use this technology. We have to use the port ecosystems. It means as exporters, if any exporters wants to clear their cargo, they have to go with the various type of the systems. One is the custom systems, one is the port system. So PCR, they are, I think that Sagarmala and the Ministry of Port is working for the one system which is called port a PCR system, I think. So such systems will only develop this port. This is my view.
Absolutely. But Mr. Margani, another important aspect was, of course, financing. The committee noted that to be globally competitive, the cost of financing for Indian companies has to be at par with the global rate. To achieve this, the committee also recommended the ministry to take an expedited decision on creating a maritime development fund. Tell us about the importance of this fund.
Yeah, in fact, the government has noted. I mean, like the standing committee has noted regarding the import, the fee structure also. And see, in fact, when you compare with any other ports like China, in China you have a Shanghai port, which is the very biggest port which is available in the complete east side of the world. So when you compare with, there should be a very friendly maritime import procedure has to be taken forward with that. But I agree that the standing committee is completely disappointed with the works being taken place in terms of, especially when I talk about the repairs of the ships and all, because there is lack of proper technology. In fact, the technology with the port technology and the shipping, the repair works is been happening in a very slow and with very lag basis. And in fact, government should be very magnanimous in terms, especially in terms of Sagarmala, in terms of framing of the laws. And it should be very friendly with in terms of the port connectivity. But I do agree with the maritime import thing also. It should be very clear enough. The government should be very magnanimous in that factor also.
All right, so since we're talking about technology and finance, let's also talk about the public-private partnership. Captain Singh, the committee notes that in the past decade, private investment into major port sector was invited and several projects were awarded on PPP basis for capacity augmentation in major ports across the country. But how do we develop a dedicated mechanism for effective coordination and monitoring of PPP projects in the Sagarmala program?
Yes, any of the port development activity is a commercial activity, and a demand and supply situation prevails. In the existing major ports, the modernization and augmentation has physical constraints. For example, I'll take Mumbai port. It was designed for when the vessel sizes were 10 meters draft, 10 meters depth was sufficient. These days, it is not sufficient. So any augmentation on the land side infrastructure is not going to produce the results because the water side is lacking. So sometimes you require, and there is a need for a new port, which was answered by the development of JNPT port nearby. So similar things have happened in a lot of places. The augmentation on the land side for the port infrastructure is not lagging behind all that much. What is lagging right now is the evacuation, which is the connectivity issue to the port. And connectivity issue is the road and the rail linkages. This is where I think the bigger lag is. For example, we were talking container cargoes. We are only 2 ports figure on the bottom of the 40 top container ports in the world. But it is not the container handling capacity which is holding us back. It is more a reflection of the lack of export competitiveness of the Indian economy. Whatever boxes are coming in, JNPT and Mundra port are handling more than 4 million TEUs per annum now, which places them at the bottom of the scale. A single port in China exports and transacts more cargo than the Indian volume put together. So it is not the port is holding things back right now, but yes, Sagarmala, the vision of Sagarmala is very good. As and when the Indian economy takes these steps further up and becomes more competitive, port should not become a bottleneck. And that is the issue that we need to address by giving ports good connectivity and evacuation potential. Monitoring of the project, I don't think is very important at this point of view. If the projects have been selected well, there has to be a commercial rationale and a logic to it, and that will reflect in the utilization of the facility being created.
Absolutely. I think that's a very valid point that you're making, sir. But also talking about the tourism potential at the ports. Of course, the committee notes the potential of augmenting tourism through Sagarmala project. Mr. Modi, how do we develop those facilities?
It is a good question. Just for information, old Cochin port has diverted their port to the tourism port. So such actions should be taken by all the ports. Now for the cruise, Cochin port is very much aggressive to start the cruise services from Cochin to XYZ destination. Now we are seeing that cruise services started between Goa and Mumbai. So such services, if such service operators will come, sure the tourism will come ahead. And we have a ports, we have a ensign ports. That ports we can use as a tourism. And for the tourism sectors, Cochin is the best example which I seen in my from these 4-5 ports that they have a dedicated tourism, that are given a dedicated space for the tourism. They are offering tenders to the parties to develop the tourism. So such type of actions will be taken care by all the ports, and Sagarmala is also working on the tourism. Adding to this, ma'am, you have one question about this PPP model.
Yes,
Our
sir.
PPP models are very good, but some terms and conditions of the governments are very strict, which makes somewhere it is unviable. This is my personal view on that. And second thing on you just asked us about this connectivity, non-major ports connectivity. Major port to minor port connectivity is a must. If you want to reduce your logistic cost, then major ports to minor ports connectivity should be there. Some of these states are working on that to how to develop this major ports to minor ports connect. It is a source service like these services are must for India to cut our logistic costs. These are my personal views also adding to this.
All right, you made
Kruti,
a very important. Yes, sir.
Let me add on a couple of points to this tourism also.
Yes,
So
sir.
last
Please,
time,
Mr. Magari,
in the
yes.
in the recent occasion, the committee has visited to Lakshadweep. So all the committee members have visited Lakshadweep, where we happen to explore the tourism places in Lakshadweep, where we could see all the coral reef and the nature and the place where we went with the lush green and with crystal clear water, and everything is absolutely fabulous. But whereas when it comes to the infrastructure at Lakshadweep, it is very, very shabby and very poor. So from Lakshadweep, if you could see the distance between the Maldives and the Lakshadweep, it's very near, hardly 40-50 kilometers. Some islands are is a close vicinity to the Lakshadweep. But whereas the infrastructure and the tourism growth in that area, it is nowhere matched. It's a day and night difference. So where it is lagging, and after the 75 years of independence also, our country is very poor in terms of tourism. There is no proper mechanism to come up with the PPP structure, and the framework and the structure of the tourism model is utter failure in the country. In fact, the government should be more proactive in terms of the promotion of PPPs. So the government, the ideology is not maintaining the projects. The government's ideology is to ascertain the PPPs, the private players to come in and to provide the job work. The government's motto should collect the taxes from them. And in fact, when you see the budget of the tourism, in fact, it's very minimum. It's not even 2,500 crores per annum. How much budget is being allocated to the salaries of the tourism department and how much infrastructure we've been creating. It is not at all agreeable and satisfiable. So in fact, government should see the models abroad in Maldives, how the system is going on. In fact, the country next to this Thailand is near to the country, and how the country is just running on the tourism. As we are having lot of system, lot of a lot of natural resources. So in fact, government should be very magnanimous in terms of promoting the private players. And there are a lot of subsidies to be taken place. We've been, and especially committees, very disappointed to see, because all the committee members more or less have seen the Maldives. And when it is, the Lakshadweep is next to Maldives, it's not even 30-40 kilometers, some of the islands is nearby. And here the maintenance is done by the government of the state, I guess. It is not at all up to the mark. And in fact, the government should be proactive in coming up with the tourism infrastructure, and it should see the models abroad also.
Absolutely. So we have to harness the potential as far as tourism is concerned. But I'm completely out of time. Now let's take closing remarks from all the guests. Captain Singh, coming to you first. The future of port-led industrialization in India.
Oh, it is an absolute must, because that will solve a lot of our logistics issues. The committee report itself points out that the cargoes which are difficult to transport by roads, they should be promoted in the coastal areas itself, so that the logistics costs are less, the difficulties experienced in moving long distances inshore is less. And plus, it will give the ports the volume required to sustain their operations in a commercially viable manner. That is the time when we can even remotely think of comparing ourselves with the Chinese model.
Absolutely. Mr. Modi, your closing remarks?
Yeah, ma'am. I think that on the tourism side, I forget to share with you that all the lighthouses now they are converting to the tourist points. On the side of this Sagarmala working is very good, and for this coastal shipping, they have to work a lot because coastal shipping is one of the logistic which will be the one of the lifeline will be in the future. So I think that Sagarmala working is good, but they have to increase their speed and they have to give the importance to the our shipping and inland waterways. These are my remarks.
All right, Mr. Margani, I'll let you have the last word on the show.
Yes, my major thing for this Sagarmala is one is the port modernization, port connectivity, and in fact the ORT, LED industrialization, and the coastal community development, the coastal shipping and inland waterways transport. The whole ideology it shall be the connectivity of the road next to the waterways is very much important. There are, as I rightly mentioned, there are 7,500 kilometers of the port lane. The connectivity from city to city at the coastal level, it should be implemented. It should be the infrastructure has to be provided at the earliest. And as I rightly mentioned about my state, from Vizag to Chennai Industrial Corridor, because the KG Basin is rightly located at Krishna Godavari Basin. So there is the utmost importance is there, and all the oil rigs from the eastern area comes from the Krishna Godavari Basin. So my parliament constituency is adjacent to that basin. So Vizag to Chennai Industrial Corridor has to be implemented, and in fact, the Modi ji's government also. He has taken the East policy also.
Right.
In fact, a lot of investment, initial investment has to be funded at the SEZ and the Chennai Visakhapatnam corridor has to be should be most highest priority of the government of India, so that all the refineries and the connectivity from Vizag to Chennai and even from Vizag to Kolkata, the Eastern, the Act East policy will also be fulfilled.
Absolutely. So port-led industrialization can be a game changer in times to come, as it will boost port-linked industries by yielding enormous benefits of economies of scale and enhancing trade and creating job opportunities as well. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Margani, Mr. Modi, and Captain Singh. Viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sunset TV. Namaskar.